The problem with modern UFC fans is that most of them who are outspoken on Instagram and TikTok, X, whatever other social media outlet that you guys, tend to hijack, you're all, outspoken casuals. You're all casuals. But the casual fans make up a very small percentage of the people who are actually out there, but they make up the majority of the opinion that you're going to read and hear about online, especially on YouTube. And you get one or two guys who, although I can't tolerate, I still think that they're a lot more relevant than these idiots who talk online, Instagram, TikTok, X, whatever, Facebook. If you're 90 years old, just to use Facebook, whatever. But those are the outspoken people. And those outspoken people are idiots because all they do is repeat the shit that they hear online or during the live broadcast from guys like Joe Rogan and DC, Daniel Cormier. Not John Anik, who I actually like. He was a bit of a dick to me on Instagram, but it's fine. But I still like him. Great announcer. Definitely the best announcer right now out there in all of sports. But these casual fans repeat things like, oh, Khalil Rountree fought with heart. Khalil Rountree has a great story. Khalil Rountree is a real warrior. Okay. Let me remind you who Alex Pereira is. Alex Pereira, before he came to the UFC, before he fought in MMA, was a kickboxing champion. His background, he grew up in the favelas. We call it the ghetto. He grew up in the streets legitimately. No money, hung out with the wrong crowd, dirt poor, okay? I think when he was, I don't know how old he was. I mean, I know I'm getting this wrong. I'm not looking at Wikipedia like, most of you do who do these kind of videos. I think he was 12 years old, and then he got hired by some guy who had sympathy on him because he liked him and he wanted to keep him off the streets. And he started to, fix tires. And he did that for years, I think up until his early 20s or something like that. I might be getting that wrong. But he basically dropped out of school because he had no money. He wanted to get money, so he went to work full-time instead. And then he became an alcoholic. I don't know if that was 19 or 20. Again, getting the ages and, numbers wrong. But he was on the street, and then he pulled himself out of it. And part of his, mentorship came from the guy from the tire shop, which is why you can search for these recent videos. You can search right now and look and type in Alex Pereira tire shop, and you'll see to this day. I mean, the guy was on the UFC Countdown. To this day, he still mentors Alex Pereira. He might have been with him, I think, in the Octagon when he won in 307. My whole point is Alex Pereira pulled himself out. He had nothing going on. His family wasn't helping. No one was helping him whatsoever, And this guy mentored him and said, you could do more. I don't know how he got started in fighting or kickboxing. I know he fought on the streets. He joined Glory, which is, of course, the most popular kickboxing organization of all time. He won 2 belts in 2 different weight divisions. Again, middleweight and light heavyweight. He was the only person ever to knock out Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. And then he stalked Adesanya because Adesanya was talking all this crap about him before he came into MMA. Switched over to MMA, stalks Adesanya, beats him, and now he is the reigning light heavyweight champion. Like I told you guys, he was going to beat Rountree, and I'm going to tell you why he had some problems. We're going to get into all that. He beats Rountree, so that means in the span of 7 months, he defended his light heavyweight belt 3 times. Alex "POATAN" Pereira with this amazing story, and he should now be considered the greatest of all time. Right now, he doesn't have to do anything else. He is the greatest fighter of all time. If you don't want to say in the UFC, he's the greatest light heavyweight of all time. There's 2 different weight belts. Oh, well, John Jones has done it right, but John Jones fights, what, once every 2 years? And even the reporters are making a big deal about it to Dana, who's obsessed with, saying that John Jones is the greatest of all time. Right now, the greatest fighter of all time, the face of the UFC, is Alex Pereira. He's active. He's a champion. No one can beat him. No one will beat him in the light heavyweight division. No one will beat him at all. The only person who legitimately knocked him out was Israel Adesanya. But let's face it, Israel had a lot of practice, and he got beat 3 times by Alex "POATAN" Pereira still. So that record, to me, is still 3-1 in Alex's favor. You want to know the guy who has the better story between Khalil Rountree and Alex Pereira? It is Alex Pereira. You want to know the guy who has heart? Heart is Alex Pereira. Do you know that he fought with basically a broken rib? And if it wasn't broken, it was so bad that he could barely move. So he had something wrong with his rib. Then he had a re-aggravated foot injury that I think he injured in the last fight, which, by the way, he fought Yuri Prochazka the second time with that same injury. Didn't open his mouth about it. Then he flew over to Brazil because he was basically going on this philanthropic mission where he was donating food or some type of supplies to people. And they were messing with his visa, saying that he couldn't leave the country to come back to fight at UFC 307. So he was virtually stuck in Brazil, gets sick in Brazil with some illness, has to go on antibiotics right up until the time that he fought, right up until the day of the show. He's taking antibiotics to feel better, right? And This is his third title defense in 7 months. I don't know how many times he fought in the last 2 years. What, like probably 5 times? And he's going up against a lower ranked guy that he didn't have to face. And he's only facing this guy because Dana White's, he really likes taking chances. He likes rolling the dice. Dana White's a gambler. He said, I see what this Khalil Rountree guy is doing. He has the momentum. Momentum means everything when it comes to the UFC and fighting. Even if he doesn't win, he's going to put on a show. The guy who gets into the cage, fighting a lower ranked person, risking his belt, risking his status in the UFC as being, a guy who gets the pay-per-view points, a guy who's, essentially the face of the UFC, the most popular name right now in the UFC, was willing to risk it, and he did risk it, and he did suffer. In those first 2 rounds, he suffered. It looked like, holy shit, there might be a chance for Khalil Rountree. I didn't think so, but you guys did. I knew he wasn't going to lose, by the way. I said it many times. But this was a real threat to him and his legacy, fighting a lower-ranked guy. And, Khalil Rountree would have catapulted to the top. There would have been an immediate rematch, of course. But just like Alex Pereira, again, you see the difference is Alex Pereira had the shot, and he took it and he won. He beat Adesanya. That's what made him a superstar. It's like, wow, this guy came, he stalked him, he beat Adesanya, and then he goes up a weight division. Why? Because Dana White saw that he was having problems cutting weight. He goes, look, why don't you just fight at your natural weight class? He's like, fine. Goes to the weight class, beats a bunch of people, and a wrestler, something else I'm going to get into. Everyone keeps saying, when he faces a wrestler, then we're going to see. He fought a wrestler. His name is Jan Blachowicz. And if you guys don't know, you should know. Well, now you know, right? Like Dana White likes to fucking say. Jan Blachowicz beat Israel Adesanya before Alex Pereira did. He beat him on a decision victory. You want to know how he won? Took him down, held him down, out-wrestled him. Right. He tried to do the same thing to Alex Pereira, and it didn't work out because Alex Pereira has real skills. He has a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Now, another thing about that, these people, he got a black belt from his friend, Glover Teixeira. It's not a real black belt. It's not real. All right, asshole. First of all, if you say that, you're probably a white belt or you're a fucking blue belt that got your blue belt from some bullshit place, or because right now it's not that hard to get a blue belt. I'm sorry, there's so many people out there, but the blue belt is just, hey, please keep coming to my school. As far as I'm concerned, you're not a blue belt until you get your purple belt. You're not a fucking purple belt until you get your brown belt. And you're not a black belt until you get your first stripe. That's how everything shifted right now. Because I saw some of the quality in some of the blue belts in the last couple of years, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I should not be tapping these guys so easily. I'm a blue belt, and I have my blue belt I'm going to be a blue belt for life. Some like people say brown belt for life or black belt for life. I am blue belt for life. I should not be out of practice with injuries, tapping people out easily, because they're making basic mistakes. If you're making basic mistakes, you don't get your blue belt. So people are saying that Pereira doesn't have a real black belt because he got it from his friend Glover Teixeira. I challenge anyone to go to Connecticut, go to Glover Teixeira school. Any of you guys who are talking crap, right? No matter what your rank is, fight one rank below your belt. So if you're a blue belt, go roll with a white belt to the school. If you're a black belt, go roll with a brown belt. You'll be tapped. Because every person who actually is a legitimate jiu-jitsu practitioner would never denigrate a guy like Glover Teixeira. Like, you're claiming that he's giving out fake black belts. You're saying that Glover's just a liar. No, he's a black belt. So we've already seen him go against a great wrestler. It's not a wrestler that's going to do it. There's another way to beat him. I'll get into that later. You want to use the word heart. The word heart should be applied to Alex Pereira. Now let's talk about Khalil Rountree. Now let's get into some details. Like Alex Pereira, we have to get into details, right? Alex had no money, grew up on the legitimate streets, did not come from any kind of privilege whatsoever, pulled himself out, worked his way to the top first, became a champion somewhere else, and then he went to the UFC. Khalil Rountree Jr., use your brain, people. Do you think that a guy, the son of a guy whose father was so loved and so respected, I think Khalil Rountree even said that his father, again, I read this, so I don't know if this is true, but he said that his father was one of the bodyguards at one point for Muhammad Ali. So this guy was respected, and he knew a lot of important people, right? Do you think that these people would just allow this guy's son, who's now orphaned, to grow up alone without any kind of mentorship, without any kind of money, without any kind of support? Now listen carefully to Khalil Rountree's story. He wants to say that he grew up, all screwed up. He didn't grow up screwed up. He grew up without a dad. That's bad. That's terrible. Like, I don't know what that's like. And, but he didn't grow up without money. Like, he's talking about, I used to get drunk. I used to take my car and go here. Whenever he posts pictures of himself, does it look like he's wearing rags? Does it look like he's hanging out in the street? Like he's wearing some fine ass shit for that time period. You know, in the 90s and the 2000s, he's wearing some expensive shit, and he's fat, which means he had enough money to buy enough food, right? And of course he had people around him saying, Khalil, you got to stop doing this. But then after a while, he probably fought back, and they said, you know what, he's going through a phase, he'll snap out of it. Someone snapped him out of it. Now, it wasn't one person, it wasn't two people, it was multiple people. And he basically had the support system that said, come on, you can do this. And I'm sure that once someone saw that he was into the fighting, they pushed him into it. And then he became a fighter, he became a good fighter, and he got to leapfrog over. It might be because of his name. It might be because Dana White, you know, had sympathy on him. But he's been doing it for 10 years, gradually, slowly moving up. So it wasn't like he instantaneously got the shot. But let's be honest, Johnny Walker knocked him out. And he also had some struggles early on. And he had the same struggles that he had, you know, when he was a kid. He said he didn't take it seriously until after 2000, COVID happened, and then he got serious. So, you know, you're just joking around, like you have all these opportunities, and like you just keep blowing it. Whatever. So now, I'm looking at all these people online. Wow, he has heart because like he stood up to the giant. So you're gonna tell me Yuri Prochazka, who fought twice against Alex Pereira, doesn't have heart? He has shitloads of heart. You're gonna tell me Jamal Hill doesn't have heart? He has a lot of fucking heart. He might be a bit of a douchebag, but he has heart. He stood up against him. You can tell me Israel Adesanya doesn't have heart? Fought him twice after he got knocked out twice in a row. First in kickboxing, then in MMA. Fought him. You're going to tell me he doesn't have heart? And it has nothing to do with their story. You're going to tell me Jan Blachowicz doesn't have heart? What about Sean Strickland? He went in there, he got knocked out, became his best friend. They're freaking training together. That's heart. Heart is not getting into a cage with a guy and taking a beating because the referee should have stopped it as early as he stopped the Israel Adesanya fight. He let it go to the point where it's like he got knocked down, he was bloodied, and you have like Alex Pereira just towering over him. Okay? It's like he got a lot of chances to prove himself. That's like someone who's willing to take pain. It's like someone who's willing to get, you know, basically tortured. And then it's like, okay, well, I know I'm not going to win this, but torture me kind of thing. It's like, again, we're going to get into the fight at some point, but I just have to preface this with all this stuff because you want to talk about heart. The guy that had the heart is Alex Pereira for taking this fight with a virtual no-name, jumping over everyone that he should be fighting just to appease Dana White, just to have a great card in Utah. This ain't Vegas, this ain't Chicago, this is not the Garden, this is not some, you know, this is not some major venue, this is Utah. 307 in Utah, hey, how you doing, man? I mean, come on, the undercard was freaking Juliana Pena? Really? Who got a gift from the judges? Even Dana White sees it. I mean, that Aldo fight, atrocious? Like, anyway, judging-wise. So, it's like, the guy that had heart, the guy that took the risk, Alex Pereira. Now let's talk about Khalil Rountree, the fighter, the actual fighter. Never mind all this other stuff. Oh, he has heart to go and get from where he came from. All right? Here's what happened. This is what happened. This was his opportunity to beat Alex Pereira. And he foolishly went in there, thought, because his fucking coach convinced him. This idiot convinced him. All you have to do is play a counter game, learn all of the big moves, and have a counter strike, and step back, or give him an angle, or do something a little bit different that he's not expecting, because he knows that Pereira likes to move forward. So, first 2 rounds, we see it. He's countering. Now, you need to go back and watch the fight. Shut off the commentary. Just shut it off. Watch the fight. Pay attention. Look at who's actually putting the pressure on. Look at who's throwing more punches and landing more punches. Look at the stats. When they go into the 3rd round, look at how many punches landed and were thrown by Pereira versus how many punches were landed and thrown by Khalil Rountree. You're going to see a lot more landed for Pereira. And the guy that was making it a fight was Alex Pereira. The guy that was waiting for the counter opportunities, and he was successful on it, was Khalil Rountree. When we get to round 3, like everyone else is saying it, I didn't really see it too much, but it looked like Khalil Rountree was getting a little bit tired. I don't think that's what happened. He just thought he could keep doing the same thing, and somehow Alex Pereira, this seasoned guy who's fought like what, almost 100 fights total, this guy is not going to adapt by round 3. So this was his game plan. His coach told him, we're going to learn all of the major strikes. We're going to learn that left hook. We're going to see how he sets it up. We're going to counter, and we're going to come this way instead, right? We're going to look for when he kicks. We're going to watch that low kick. We're going to have a response to it, and we're going to have a counter, because he countered for the first 2 rounds. That's how he landed that hit kick, and that's how he landed that crazy punch behind the neck. Again, I just specified behind the neck because when you get hit behind the neck, that's a really easy way, quick way to get knocked out. But he landed it perfectly. And what happened? Alex Pereira took the leg kick as if nothing happened, and he kept coming forward. And he even drops to one knee, right? He shows him his back. That would have been a great opportunity to run at him and grapple him, but he doesn't, because that wasn't part of the plan, right? He wanted to prove himself like a big man and take down the striker. He thought that he was going to outstrike Alex Pereira. That was like the plan. And that was his opportunity to get on his back, put him into the turtle, pull him back, and just finish him. But he didn't. He let him get up. And he blew an opportunity there. Why? Because he's relying on this counter-striking, this counter-striking strategy, which seemed to be working well. He didn't want to screw up the plan. We get to round 3, and Pereira adjusts. And he says, you know what? I'm just going to do what I always do. I'm going to do leg kicks, and I'm going to wait. I'm not going to throw combos, and I'm just going to kind of, show him a little bit of things, and I'm going to see the way he reacts. And this totally screwed up Khalil Rountree, because you can see, he doesn't really know what's going on. He can't counter as much because he's not throwing the major stuff. He's throwing teeps. He's throwing a lot of the low kicks. He's throwing a little bit of, crosses. They actually discovered the strategy. They must have saw what I was saying. And what they told him was, round 4, no big strikes. No big strikes. I want a jab, and I want front kicks. That's it. If you want to throw the leg kick, that's fine. But I just want jabs and front kicks. Nothing else. I don't want nothing major. I don't want crazy combos. Jab. And then when you see the opportunity, then you go in there and just unleash on him. But hold back the big stuff. Okay. Watch round 4. That is a masterclass. I got a bunch of screenshots here. I wish I could show you the video, but I'm just going to read this stuff up and I'll flash it up here, right? So at 4:39, he lands a jab. Pereira does to Khalil Rountree. At 4:37, he throws a front kick. At 4:16, another jab. 4:05, another jab. 3:57, another jab. That's 4 jabs already. At 3:43, another jab. At 3:34, another jab. At 3:02, another one. At 2:39, he throws 1 flying knee, but then he backs up. Another jab at 2:27. And from 2:27 on up until the end of the round, this is when he begins to see, okay, I got him. Gets him up against the fence, and look at what he does. He actually looks like he's going to show the left hook, but then he's like, nope, I'm not going to throw the big stuff. Right cross, jab. He's doing all types of stuff that we've never seen him do. And when he has the opportunity to do crazy shit like flying knees and jumping knees, he would do it, but he did it methodically. He got him in the tie clinch. It's like Khalil Rountree had no answer for the tie kicks whatsoever. He had no response. At this point, Khalil's done. Everyone keeps saying tired. Let me tell you something. It's not that he was tired. He was getting his ass kicked in round 4. That's what happened. He didn't lose anything. He got punched in the face, and his eyes were closing, and he couldn't see, and he's slowing down. He's getting weak. Not tired. He's weak. I hate when people say, oh, yeah, it looks like the gravity got to him, the high altitudes. He was fine. The one who looked weak and slow was Alex Pereira in the first 2 rounds. But if this guy's coach, Khalil Rountree's coach, was worth anything, he would have noticed. Don't let this guy get past the first or second round, because if he gets to 3, he starts to wake up. Right? He gets better. As like the rounds go on, he gets better. Your best chance to get Alex Pereira is early on. Round 1, go after him, throw everything at him, and look, you're probably going to get knocked out, but you'll probably knock him out. This is what Adesanya did, right? I think it was either in the middle of the second round or the beginning of the first round, whatever. But even in the first fight, Adesanya landed a huge punch, which, I mean, again, if that bell didn't ring, who knows? Things might have went very different. But it took more than 1 punch. And it wasn't, he got wobbled and everything, and he got stunned, but he still survived. He came back, and he still beat Adesanya. It's almost like punches give him more energy. He's like one of these new bosses in MK1. I'm talking about the new MK1. Came out in 2024. Awesome game, by the way. Chaos Reigns and all this stuff. It's like sometimes you fight these bosses, and as you punch them, they get bigger and bigger. It's like this is what happens to a Pereira. He gets more and more powerful. And he didn't look tired at the end of round 4, so you can't say Khalil got tired. He got his ass kicked. All right? So the strategy changed from all of the crazy strikes that we're used to seeing Pereira throw to simple jabs. It's like Khalil Rountree had no answer for the jab. Now, why do I keep going after his coach? Why? Because the coach should have thrown the freaking towel. He should have said, that's it, no mas. He should have said no mas. Sean O'Malley just did a breakdown video. Well, he did a reaction video. He said the same thing. This while he's watching him get like punched again, he's like, wow, this is really hard to watch. Like, oh my god, like how come the ref is not stopping it? Or how come the coach isn't throwing in the towel? It's like, no, you don't want your guy to die in the ring. A good coach is gonna say, forget it. I have to protect my fighter. You don't let him go down like that. I mean, during the, Joe Rogan, a guy who claimed that he was never going to interview guys again because he interviewed Alistair Overeem, and Overeem couldn't remember how he got knocked out, and so he's like, no, that didn't happen, and he promised that he's never going to interview the loser ever again. Well, Joe Rogan's a liar, as we all know, or as some of you know. So he interviews Khalil Rountree after he interviews Pereira, and the crowd is cheering for him. Well, what a great warrior! He's a great warrior, and in the middle of the interview, he starts pouring blood out of his nose. And you listen to the crowd reaction like, oh! Now, what hypocrites you guys are, right? You cheer when this guy is getting bloodied and punched in the face, but then when he stands there gushing blood, you're like in disgust. It's like, what do you guys think you're watching? Championship patty cake? What? Fucking chess? Like, Tetris online multiplayer? Like, dude, it's fighting. People are getting punched in the face. Eyes are going to be closed. Blood's coming out of their nose. Spit, piss, shit, everything. And you're like, oh my God, I don't want to see the reality of what's going on here. And so he's covering his nose. And the shit's bleeding still. And you can kind of see it. And Joe Rogan's like, no, here. Why don't you take a towel and clean yourself? And people, yes. Oh, please clean yourself. It's like the fucking Roman Coliseum. It's insane. This is the level of fans that are out there now. But I digress. So Khalil Rountree's strategy, counter-strike. He was not moving forward until round 4. And if you listen to the coach, this idiot between round 3 and round 4, who should have saw the strategy change, he goes, you know what? Now you have to show him why you're here. Show him that you're not scared of him. Stand in front of him. Go beat him up. Like, you're gonna stand in front of Alex Pereira? He's like, okay, I'm just gonna jab you to death. So, but he didn't know that Alex Pereira was gonna change his strategy and just throw jabs all night. It worked, and he beat him, and that's it. And that is the end. That is the end of this discussion about who has heart. The guy who had heart was Alex Pereira at the post-fight press conference. This is when he reveals. People didn't know I went through a bunch of stuff. He even revealed, all the stuff that I said earlier. He had a rib injury, he had a foot injury. He was on antibiotics because he had some sort of unknown infection. He had other problems. He had the problems with the visa because he was trapped in Brazil. So he's traveling overseas and he's taking a short notice fight against a lower ranked guy. All this other stuff. But then he said a lot of people don't realize that I had surgery right after the second Yuri Prochazka fight. So coming into this fight, he just got off of surgery. All this stuff he didn't say before the fight. He said, best camp ever. I feel amazing. I'm a warrior. I'm going to keep my belt and I'm going to beat the shit out of him. That's heart, guys. That's heart. Heart is not doing what Khalil Rountree does. You know why I know his story? Because he said it for the last 10 fucking years. And he tried for the last 10 years to put this story out there. Now he had his opportunity to go out there. He did his best, but this was a broken Alex Pereira. A broken Alex Pereira. He was he just wasn't 100%. And he still couldn't take him down. Because a 100% Alex Pereira does not allow this guy to get out of the first round. It was pure delusion and fantasy to think that he ever had a chance to beat him. So even a sick, infirmed, broken Alex Pereira can still beat the shit out of Khalil Rountree. And you guys should have given the respect. All the MMA news that I'm seeing on Sunday, and now it's Monday morning. It's Monday morning now. All I'm seeing about UFC 307 main event, Khalil Rountree showed a lot of heart. Wow, he's a real warrior. To break down of the fight is Khalil Rountree never had a chance. If he was going to beat Alex Pereira, this is the time to beat him. When he's sick, when he's infected, when he's not 100%, he has all these problems traveling overseas, he's on antibiotics, he has injuries in his foot and his rib. This is his third fight in 7 months, and probably his fifth fight in 2 years. This is the time that he would have been beat. But Khalil Rountree couldn't beat him. You know why? Because no one's going to beat him. Because the greatest light heavyweight fighter of all time in the UFC is Alex Pereira. And he will be the greatest light heavyweight fighter of all time for as long as he chooses to be. Now, if John Jones wants to cut weight and come down, that would be a fight to see. It wouldn't be smart for Alex Pereira right now to go up because he wouldn't get the pay-per-view points because he's fighting in the heavyweight division. So why would he do that? No, have John Jones come down. Have Tom Aspinall come down. So you want to say that Khalil Rountree has heart. You want to know who has the real heart? Alex Pereira, the heart of a warrior. UFC 307 went down exactly the way that I thought, with a knockout. You can watch him for the next 5 or 6 years. For as long as he decides to fight, he will be UFC light heavyweight champion for years to come.